threat from upsound. You know my sound is major. I know you like the lyrics, kid, so just do me a favor. Tell the tech to turn my dad up. This is a fact. Hey, yo, don't back up, because I wanna dive in and swim in the mentals where your thoughts roam. I wanna make you know my home, therefore you'll never be alone. But when you hear my song, sing along with the rhythm, cause I got things and fat beats that I give them. Yes, it's the ears and I'm checking out the blonde one. Maybe I can have one, maybe I can con one. Still, I'm one with God, brothers. It's hard to stay straight until you're scared straight, and then you can't wait to get out.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are recording this on October 28th, 2013. And, oh, what's that, Ramon? Oh, I only do that just because it annoys you, Ramon.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, so, man, you know, here we go. This is probably going to be a little bit late for when this is going to be released this next Sunday, but you know, energetically things are kind of calm right now, Ramon. This last weekend was hectic as all hell, and it seems to have calmed down quite a bit. At least here where I'm at, it's actually the weather's agreeing with it. It's been clear, crystal clear all day long here, which is after the last 2 weeks of socked in fog and clouds. It's pretty refreshing.
You know, the funny thing is that when was it? Saturday we had Friday night we had a typhoon coming through, and around, can't remember the exact time, but it must have been like around midnight or maybe 1 in the morning, there was an earthquake as well. So that's...
Oh, that goes along with the... Wasn't it an X-flare we had then, too?
Yeah, we had an X-flare, so just wondering, you know. The typhoon wasn't as bad as they expected, because they had, like, sandbags in front of some of the stores, because the last typhoon there was some floods by the train. And, but the earthquake was weird, because I first felt it, and... You know, lately when I feel earthquakes, I feel them in my spine first, and that's how I know that it's coming. And a few seconds later, but it was very slow, then it built up, but it didn't get too strong. Nothing fell off or anything like that, but supposedly it was like a 7.2. It didn't feel like it, though.
Yeah. You know, that's something that, you know, there's several researchers out there that are looking into the correlation between solar activity and the geological, you know, effects, you know, storms and earthquakes and that sort of thing. And, you know, I don't know. I guess I would have to really record data like these guys are doing to buy into it much myself. With as many earthquakes as we have on this planet every day, you know, there's some excellent software out there. I use one called, what's it called, Earthquake 3D or something like that. But it gives me it's like a live seismic overview of the whole planet, and it's actually a pretty good program. If I can find it here, I'd say the actual name. I think it's called Earthquake 3D. But you know, finding that correlation between solar activity and earthquakes is a little, I don't know, it's a little out there in my book. What do you think
really?
About that, Ramon?
I think it makes sense because, for example, the 3/11 earthquake, there was some kind of solar activity during that time, and I remember that. That's why when people were saying it's HARP, I was kind of like, but there was a huge, like, I forgot what it was, some kind of solar flare or something. And because I remember, because who does a really good job at always posting things is John D. Riley on Facebook. Right. And I remember he had posted something about that, and then the earthquake hit. So I think I don't think every single one of them, but I think it has a lot to do with it. And also some people say that the consciousness has a lot to do with it.
I think that has a lot more to do with it than well,
I think they all do.
I think our consciousness has a lot more has a more effect on what the sun's doing than we realize, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
We're getting off track.
Yeah. Anyway.
So found a couple of interesting things on the internet here today, and this one is a little bit creepy.
A little bit.
You'll find this in our news section on the main page. It's an artificial womb, and the cloning's been around for quite a while now. The Dolly, the sheep or whatever it was the one that started that. But now we have actually got a artificial womb, and this is actually at a one of the universities there, I believe, a university in
Juntendo. It sounds like Nintendo. Juntendo University in Tokyo.
It is Juntendo, however you say it.
Not Nintendo.
But they've got a goat. They raised a goat without a womb. So, here we go. The Matrix begins, right? This thing, if you guys go check this out, the picture of it really does remind you of the batteries in the Matrix. Right. Pretty creepy.
Yeah. I'm not sure what part of Tokyo this is, but that doesn't seem too far from me. Maybe I should break in with a camera.
Yeah. Well, hey, you could probably get a hold of them and say, hey, I'm a freelance journalist. I'd like to come in and take a look at what you guys are doing here. And you never know, they might let you in. How far is that place from you?
I'm not sure where this university is at, but it can't be no more than an hour. I think to cross Tokyo takes me an hour and 15 minutes, depending what trains I take.
Yeah, another one I dropped into the news section there is one you got to see. This one I just had flashbacks of horror movies I watched when I was growing up. The Friday the 13th movies with good old Jason in his ski mask. Taiwan's army, their new uniforms are. I just look at these things and I'm like, oh my God, they got an army of Jasons. Things are a little creepy. So
yeah, in that news where you found it, they actually compare it to the stormtroopers. Stormtroopers, is that what they're called?
Oh yeah, stormtroopers, Star Trek,
stormtroopers. Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Don't confuse the two.
Yeah. So wow. I don't know. Brave New World.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, we have Do we have anything else?
Oh, that's all I got to throw out there for right now. You guys can find us in all the normal spots. The Facebooks, Twitters, and YouTube and Vimeo and all that good stuff. What else, Ramon?
I'm just excited to talk to our guests. Finally, somebody's on my side of the world.
Yeah, there you go.
Not that close, but 6 hours by plane, I think. Or no less than that.
We've got Neil Gould with us. Neil Gould is a director of the Exopolitics Institute. He's the one that's founded by Dr. Michael Salla, and he's assisted by Angelika Whitecliff. In 2005, Dr. Salla, Angelika Whitecliff, and Paola Harris, Rebecca Hardcastle, they all founded the Exopolitics Certification program, which is one of several programs within the Exopolitics Institute. Neil's a graduate of that institute and holds a diploma in exopolitics. After Neil's personal experiences that he had with ETs, it has become his mission to be involved with the breaking of the media truth embargo with regard to ETs and their ongoing interaction with the planet Earth. The new world will be about free energy, better health, unlimited fresh water, no dependency on oil. In time, a truth and reconciliation hearing will be held for all those who have been involved in the military intelligence black operations. Neil has written a true account of life with ADD and ADHD, some, not all symptoms, are misdiagnosed and are the result of implants or knowledge capsules placed there by extraterrestrial beings, some of whom are multidimensional in nature. In the same way doctors care for us, so ETs upgrade our DNA. Humans have 223 genes laterally spliced and without the necessary predecessors. The journey is one of spiritual advancement, encounters with ETs and spacecraft, and the most enthralling of which took place during the time of the millennium in Hong Kong in 2000. An account of his epiphany is given when, after years of Neil being labeled crazy, oh boy, I can relate to that, the craft appears in front of his family and friends in Hong Kong on the eve of the 12th of September 2007, the results of an orchestrated CE5 with his son Zach. It was reported to MUFON. His website is exopoliticshongkong.com. And Neil, welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, man,
So,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Tom. I was going to say, so what part of the world are you from?
Originally, I'm from South Africa. I left, was born in 1954, and I left there in 1974. Left for the UK and stayed there till 1995. And then from 1995 till now, I've been residing in Hong Kong.
Okay. So
bit of a nomad.
yeah. I was just thinking that how so why move to Asia? I ask myself that question every morning.
Well, on the one hand, I think it is part of my destiny. Not that I'm an evangelist or anything in this field, but on the other hand, I was importing electrical appliances from China when I was living in the UK. And they tended to ship a load of rubbish across. And I spent more time, with groups of people in London in warehouses reworking. So I thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. But perhaps I could do it better. So I actually went across to China. I had to sacrifice a bit, leave my family. My kids were young. It took me a year to set up. And it was the happiest day of my life when I could pick up the phone and say, right, guys, come across. And they all came across and set up the factory and was doing the same thing, except not only shipping to the UK, but shipping all over the world. And that's how it all started.
Nice. So what was it that sparked your interest in the ETs?
It's very strange because when I was a kid, even starting at 6 years old, I do remember things happening in my bedroom. I remember very well. I also remember being scared out of my skin, not wanting to open my eyes, and fully aware that there was things going on in the room. And that, of course, set me off. And my folks thought there was something wrong with me. Took me to clinical psychologists for evaluation. They couldn't find anything. In fact, they found that I was bright normal. Some kind of term they use when measuring kids. And then a couple of times I remember sort of these things happening, getting under the blankets and feeling what I can only describe as a finger with a claw. You can imagine a kid of 6 or 7 years old under the blanket and feeling that kind of thing prodding the side of your chest, which really scared the bejesus out of me. But it evolved till I was about the age of 8 or 9, where these things happened, except they managed to calm me down. I remember clearly there was a blue light in the room, and they appeared. And the feeling was very, very positive. It was quite amazing because it was very telepathic in a way, where a whole grid seemed to be downloaded into my mind as an 8, 9-year-old kid. And I remember waking up in the morning and telling my mother about it, and she said, "Oh, you're just imagining things again. You're crazy, blah, 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 blah," joking. She said, "Oh, it was actually me." Well, of course, I knew very well it wasn't her. This experience was far too incredible. And the only way I could cope with this thing was to, I always describe it as such, is to keep it as a painting on the side of the wall of your mind. because there's no place for it. You go to school, you can't talk about it. It doesn't fit anywhere. But as time progressed, so there was a kind of an unraveling, an unveiling of certain information that was put into my mind and through this experience. And finally, in the year 2000 in Hong Kong, these 4 huge ships flew over. They were about a kilometer wide above the IFC building. And I swear blind that these were the Phoenix Lights, the same thing. And we watched them, and I remember being profoundly affected by the light that came off these golden orbs underneath the ship. And at that point, everything fell into place. All the memories, not really memories because they were there all the time, I was aware of them, but I was able to fit them into this reality, take care of them, and act upon them. And that's exactly what happened. So it was really a journey through time, and that's what these beings do. They're multidimensional in nature. Their coding, the way they deal with you is very much like that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. It's like so often I hear people in your situation where they, you know, their parents will say, "Well, something is wrong with him." Of course, something is wrong. You have these aliens coming into your room. Nobody's gonna be right. You know?
Strangest experience, because it was also accompanied by people called them orbs, but it was accompanied by these round little balls of light that I could see with my eyes open and my eyes closed. Well, of course, I mean, that's the first sign of madness, you know, in normal circumstances. But over the years, I managed to talk to various people, including Dr. Rebecca Hardcastle, who's an expert on exo-consciousness, and she was talking about seeing the same things. So that one put that one to rest, but that was a little bit close to the bone, I must tell you.
Yeah, you know, that's interesting. I haven't heard too many other people talk about that phenomena of being able to see him with your eyes open and closed. Yeah. I've actually experienced that a couple times myself, and it's definitely it's kind of unnerving when you first experience it. It's like, whoa, hang on, what's going on here?
Well, I didn't like the lights turned off, because when the lights were turned off, they seemed to be more powerful.
Yeah.
It's very much like you rub your eyes, you know, you rub your eyes and suddenly you see all these like lights, even when your eyes are open or your eyes are closed, they're still there. It's it's the only way I can really describe it, but they're significant. I can tell you they're significant, and they've gelled into my experiences as time has gone on.
Were they, what color were they?
You can't really call them a color, because the outline is sort of black, but inside is a very, very pale green with a vibrating little black dot inside it. It's very complex, but it emits a feeling, a very strong feeling. It's actually like some kind of a connection to somebody, and there's a reason for it. There's definitely a reason for it, because you see, in 1994, when I was living in London at 3 o'clock in the morning, that feeling was there, and I remember just suddenly waking up, and I was not in my body. And I could see 360 degrees around me, and up and down. I could see everywhere. Let's put it this way, I could perceive everywhere. I can't say see, it's more perceive. And that feeling was there, and at the same time, these two beings, one on each side of me, they seemed to be fiery white, if you like. I mean, some people refer to these things as light beings. I mean, I don't know if it's a light being or not a light being, but certainly light emanating from these small beings, one of which was crouching down, holding onto my elbow, and the other one was holding onto my arm. And I could just feel this chilled air, like lighter fluid evaporating from your hand. And that feeling of those orbs was there. It was the same thing. It gelled in. And these beings moved me through the matrix, perhaps about 7 kilometers or 8 kilometers up the Edgware Road and into Edgware in North London, to where my mother lives. And this is 3 in the morning. Just imagine, I've got this going on, and I don't know where I am, but I'm I'm really incredibly amazed and extremely high with this beautiful coldness coming off my body. And it's not that you can see the houses around you, you can see anything. You seem to be inside a matrix of some sort, but you know where you are. And finally they stopped at my mother's house. It's not like, again, it's not like you see the house, but it's like looking at the world from the inside and out. And her body was made up of these orbs. It was her. And I could see her struggling, 3 o'clock in the morning, getting up, stumbling, holding onto the staircase rail, wanting to go down the stairs, but really in trouble. And I saw the two beings leave me alone there and go towards her and help her. And the next thing I know is they come back to me again, and bang, I'm back in my body. I wake up 3 in the morning. The wife says, "What's the matter with you?" You know, I'm jumping up in the air, and my skin's burning, almost like an elastic band. It stretched back and snapped all over my body. I said, "You're not going to believe this, but I have just, you know, one way or the other, I've just seen my mother having some problem with her chest, grasping chest, struggle breathing, almost dying, and I see these beings. They take me there and they fix her." And she's asking me to describe it, and I'm trying to describe it to you, but it's very, very difficult visually to describe it. But I said, "Look, we've got to call. We've got to find out what's going on." So she wouldn't let me call until the morning. Anyway, in the morning, I called my mother. I said, "Hi," I said, "anything happened last night?" She goes, "No. What are you talking about?" I said, "Just think carefully about 3 in the morning." She goes, "Oh, my God. How did you know?" I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "I don't know. I was struggling. I got up out of bed. I couldn't breathe. I was going to go try to get downstairs, and I was holding onto the handrail. I was this, I was that." And she said, and suddenly, it all went away. So there's your corroboration.
Wow.
See?
So your mom was living in England at the time, or in South Africa?
She's still there, and over the years, she changes the version of events, because you see, it's very difficult for somebody to remember something that's outside of the box. You have to, you know, when you memorize something, you digest it.
Right.
You put it into a little compartment that you understand it, and you store it. But when something doesn't make sense, I mean, it's like post-traumatic stress. You know, you get stressed out, you get into a war situation, how do you package it and how do you store it? You can't. You know, it causes a great disturbance, and to some extent this did to my mother, you know. She can't really put it together. So today, she sort of compromises in her mind and says, "Oh yeah, well, yeah, maybe I remember maybe having some wine, or maybe something affected my chest, and yeah, it went away." So it's sort of been pulled right back from something serious to something that maybe just happens once in a while.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see, when you're experiencing these issues, I mean, your worldview is completely shifted. You have a big problem, because you know that reality is extremely complex, and it's extremely different from that which everybody else is experiencing. People don't want to acknowledge it.
Right.
And you have to make your way through life knowing a little bit more than perhaps, or being a little bit more aware metaphysically than others. And it's a problem. You don't have anywhere to go with this.
Yeah. You know what, Neil? I think this happens to more people than they actually even realize themselves. You know, speculating, what do you think out of the population of the world? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5?
It's, you know, if you've got to also look at cultures. I mean, I'm living here in Hong Kong. For many, many years, people didn't acknowledge, you know, very much about this issue, until I started to give lectures, and I started to make YouTube films and go into radio programs and on TV here. And suddenly, you know, more and more and more people emerge out of the woodwork, telling their stories, and the next thing you know is it's almost everybody. But then you look at their culture. I mean, they burn effigies like TVs and stuff to the dead ancestors. So it manifests through culture in a different way. So it is there. It's inherently, in fact, I now found the people here more open, you know, once they get used to you, than the people, let's say, in the Western countries. But they still don't really pinpoint everything as ET. They really look at things as ghosts out here.
Yeah.
But in terms of the whole world, I mean, you look at Africa, it's full of shamanism. I mean, if you have shamans, you have people contacting, you know, perhaps accessing high levels of their own consciousness, or intercepting other non-corporeal beings, if you like. This is something common throughout the whole of Africa, where you have good and bad and evil and voodoo kind of stuff, and it's all over the world. But you see, the way this world has been shaped through our controllers, and over thousands of years have been controlled, this kind of reality is really hidden, because it doesn't suit the controllers for people to really be too open to what's really going on. They like to keep us nailed into a coffin with daft things like religion and rigged financial systems and rigged institutions, and this is the way they control us. And unfortunately, the human brain is extremely malleable, and if you hammer it long enough, it takes on a different form, and you can control people. And that's unfortunately the world we're living in. And I believe very strongly that my experience as an 8 or 9-year-old was to create a rebellious attitude, a program where these things would perhaps be immune to myself and immune to many, many others. And we can see the shifts in consciousness going on throughout the whole world. I mean, we're supposed to go to war now with Syria and Iran, and what do you find? You find that the people don't allow it. There's something shifting. There is this rebellious program, or for some people it might be an awakening program. But I'm convinced. We hear about millions of people being abducted. Well, I have no doubt that billions of people are under the effect of some form of awakening by, let's say, helper. We call them helper ETs. ETs that perhaps are doing things from a distance. And if we categorize, as Dr. Salla categorizes them, you have your watchers, your helpers, your intruders, and your manipulators. You can sort of more or less put these entities into 4 categories. And I'm totally convinced that the helpers are here. They're helping us more and more and more as we go along. But at the end of the day, it is up to us to raise our consciousness and use this as a step up, because they're not going to help you the whole way.
Right. Yeah. Well, the whole name of our show is the 100th Monkey Radio, and
I know.
It's all based on that theory of the collective consciousness, and how, as we continue to become a little bit more acquainted with reality, we are, each one of us, as we have those epiphanies for ourselves, see a little bit more truth for ourselves, we add that into that collective pool, and it's more visible to all the others. And eventually it'll get to a point, we see it as getting to a point of saturation, enough saturation to where it's an apparent truth. And
I think...
Yeah. The younger generation in Hong Kong, do you find that they're a lot more open to this than the older generation? Or just everybody?
It's hard to say, because the older generation really remains silent. The younger generation are more talkative. The parents never hugged them and kissed them when they were young. They have sort of a fear of the parents, I find. I'm not particularly fond of much of the older ones.
I'm familiar with them.
Yeah, I just think that they really cause a lot of damage to a lot of the kids with the ridiculous picking orders and disciplinarians and what have you. But the younger ones are really, there's a real deep down will to burst out of the shell.
Right.
See? I mean, we took, as I said to you, we've just come back from the States. I headed up with my son Jake, and my other partner has got a media platform here, Chuk Fei, Chinese guy. We headed up what we called a UFO USA tour group. So we took 20 people to the States. We just got back last week, so my jet lag is still there. And the whole idea was to give them an experience in exopolitics, which is, of course, the study of the social and political implications of ETs visiting the planet, engaging our planet. And we also wanted to show them CE5, human-initiated ET contact. So what we did was we flew, first of all, to Las Vegas, where we embarked on an Area 51 tour, because I wanted them to understand how these institutions like Area 51 can exist. And you can be threatened with the use of deadly force, and you see the vehicles up there, and you see Bob Bigelow's building sort of 20 kilometers away, and he's doing what he's doing with regards to missions in space, with his alien logo over his hangar. And this really struck home to them, because we gave them a little bit more insight into Area 51 with its deep underground bases, with Nellis nearby, with the tall whites, where Charles Hall, the meteorologist, worked, where he encountered these extraterrestrials, which are hosts of the U.S. government, and gave them this exopolitical background. Well, of course, they all knew about Area 51, but to actually stand there and watch people watching you and seeing all the sensors in the ground and realizing that, hey, who gives these people this right? If I step over that line, in theory, I could get shot. How can this happen? How can the people of this country do it? How can the CIA operate in America when they're only supposed to operate outside of America? Well, of course, the answer is given. Well, Groom Lake is an Indian reservation, and therefore technically it's not America. And, everything is getting around laws and twisting things to people, to controllers' advantage. So they got that message pretty well thrown at them. And it left them really thinking. So we came back to Las Vegas, and we came back to the hotel, and they were sort of sitting, really, really asking questions about the secret government, Bilderberg, Trilateral Commission, began to explain all. They were lucky that they had people to explain everything to them about what they've just seen and how the world works. And then our next trip was to Sedona, which we're looking forward to, because in the radio program before, I told them I'd done the same trip ahead of them last year and had many encounters. And we're planning to do a CE5 there. But in fact, before we left Hong Kong, we did a CE5 in an office, believe it or not, letting the ETs know where we're going to be, just vectoring true intent. And we gave them some workshops on this. So when we got on the bus, our bus, to go to Sedona, I remained silent. I looked out the window, and I could see the craft outside the window. I saw one of them, actually. I didn't see all of them. I wasn't particularly bothered to keep looking around. I wanted to see whether they would see. And the strange thing was that they seemed to break up into little groups. It was strange. Let's say groups of 3s or 4s. And they'd be looking out the window, and they spot them, and they would take photographs. But the group at the back wouldn't necessarily tell the people in front what they had seen. Where Western people go, oh, wow, look at that. Oh, look, yeah, in the sky, look. There wasn't any of that. And they were clicking away, and even the group on the other side of the bus were doing the same thing. And I found that very strange. I didn't really ask why it was like that, but that's just the way it panned out for whatever reason. So they were very happy to have seen these craft, and they all took pictures of them, and some of them are on my Facebook page, and some of them are in our group, which is the Tour UFO USA Facebook group. They took pictures of these small discs following the bus, and they were very excited. We get to Sedona, and then we decided we're going to have some kind of shedding of their city life. So we had this Red Indian, I think you call them Red Indians, who was doing a ceremony for welcoming the sky gods for us. And it was just amazing to see all these Chinese people in a circle with this Red Indian in the middle, and going through all these rituals and dances and what have you, and we had to all join in, and it was just incredible watching them drop their guard and participate and really get into the clapping and the stamping and the dancing. It was really amazing. It was incredibly uplifting. From there, we then came back and we engaged in our CE5. We met up with Kim Carlsberg, and on the first night we had 50 craft fly over, which was really amazing. Again, we filmed some of them. It's on the Facebook page. And we then decided the next day we would take them to the energy vortexes and just give a little bit of metaphysics in Sedona. The Kachina lady, we climbed up there, and We went for hikes, and it was just amazing, exhilarating experience. We came back, and we were getting ready for the second night CE5, and we decided at that point to drive down to the Bradshaw Ranch. So we had 3 jeeps. What was incredible was when we drove towards the Bradshaw Ranch, 2 of the jeeps, for whatever reason, the drivers didn't follow us. You know, I don't know. We just don't know the reason. It was incredibly mysterious. But myself, my son, and 5 members of the group went down to Bradshaw Ranch. I'm sure you know what that is. It was an extremely paranormal ranch where aliens, 8-foot aliens, Bigfoots, interdimensional beings have been seen. The chief protagonist researcher is Tom Dongo. He's written many books on this. I'd been there before, but this time the temptation to jump the fence was just too great. And I managed to jump the fence, and my son followed with a video camera, and the rest of the team, the 5 as were with Chinese people who were with us, also jumped, and we started to walk into the Bradshaw Ranch, and I gave a commentary, which will go into a documentary we're doing for the TV company here. And I walked up to all the houses there and on the ranch, and went to the windmill and explained the various things that were on the ranch to them. Came back out again, and I'll just jump a little bit ahead. When I came back to Hong Kong and looked through the film, there are some pictures on my Facebook page where you see clearly interdimensional beings walking around us. They're on the pictures, which you couldn't see when you were there. The camera picked them up. So anyway, we came back out, and when we got out, suddenly Kim Carlsberg and the other 2 jeeps somehow decided they could come down to where we were. And they did. They came down. And everybody got out, and we didn't tell them we'd been into the ranch because it was already sunset. We didn't want to get this thing too complicated. And Kim was looking at the windmill, which was standing still, the windmill on the Bradshaw Ranch. And she turned around to everybody. She said, "Everybody, I want you to come here." And she said, "Let's see if we can contact these interdimensional beings and ask them to turn the windmill." And this film is on my Facebook page. It's there. And she sort of communes with them and pleads with them to please show a sign. And as she stops talking, the windmill turns, which is quite eerie, and there's no wind. Now, you might say, well, there's wind high up. But if you look, you look at the trees, nothing was moving. So, nothing was moving. So, everybody was freaked out by that. And thereafter, everybody was taking the camera and taking shots over the fence at night, hoping to pick up things in the infrared spectrum. And everybody came back with pictures of orbs, with pictures of this, like, and people say they're some kind of, I don't know, interdimensional, could be plasma, I don't know, but swirling smoke, if you like. Things that looked like fairies, which I must admit probably were moths. But nevertheless, the experience was profound. Everybody was extremely affected. Now, when we all decided to leave, everybody got in the jeeps, turned around to leave. Out of nowhere, this owl stood in the road. And the owl wouldn't let the cars past. In fact, every time a car went a foot forward, the owl simply hopped a foot backwards. And this went on for about 10 minutes, which was really eerie. I mean, of course, the whole thing is eerie. Owl. The owl is like, you know, the symbol.
You sure it was an owl?
It was an owl, baby kind of owl, yeah. We have pictures of it. Maybe it was a different kind of an owl, but it was certainly a night bird. It was nighttime. And it had the...
I'm saying that because there's that famous story or many stories where an owl will show up and that's what your mind perceives it, but it's actually not an owl.
Look, nothing would surprise me. I must tell you, after coming back from that trip, nothing surprised me, you know, because, you know, backing up here, 2 years before, my daughter had never seen a UFO. My son, myself, my wife, everybody, we've been interacting for a long time. So we went to LA, and as we got out the plane in LA, 6 craft turned up above LA airport. You can imagine that at the airport. Nobody sees a damn thing. Anyway, we went off to Sedona at that time as well. We were with the previous owner of the old UFO store in Sedona. And we were driving in the bush, and we came to this area, this like big hole in the ground, which is allegedly an underground event for some underground base, no way to know. When a human was standing there in the middle of the night, talking in an extremely high-pitched voice, making all sorts of references to the Bradshaw Ranch, putting out fear that scared the bejesus out of me, even at my age, and my daughter. She was nearly crying, and the lady that we were with from the UFO store. My son was totally unaffected. He decided to continue and jump down the hole, which freaked me out because I wanted to get the hell out of there. And I claimed from then since now, and I've got it on film, that this wasn't human. And I turned around to this guy. I got some video of him, and I said to him, "Where are you from?" And he said, in his high-pitched voice, "I'm from South Africa." Well, that's where I'm from. So I tested him. I spoke in Afrikaans, and he answered in Afrikaans. And then I said to him, "Well, where are you living now?" And he says, "I'm living in Mount Shasta." Well, that's where Jenny McCoy was, the lady who was with me. That's where she came from. So this was extremely frightening, and this fear was put out to me, my daughter, her, but not my son. And anyway, coming back to this trip, we actually met up with Tom Dungo. He gave an incredible lecture to all the folks on the tour, and we did a sit-down interview with Tom Dungo, and I brought this subject up, and he told me it was common in Sedona. He said he got caught out twice by human ETs, and he got quite angry. He said he will never drop his guard again. It will never happen to him again. So this shows that something is going on in Sedona. Whether we're seeing these things are real, or whether we're imagining them, or whether we're exaggerating on them subconsciously, I don't know. But anyway, coming back to the show where we were with the owl, finally it stepped aside, and everybody left and went back again up to the top, where we continued the second night CE5, and inexplicably, apart from people seeing the craft and filming what was going on, we had an experience. There were 5 of us, the complete left-hand side of everybody else, that noticed the materialization of a, it's difficult to say the size, because what you're looking at is twinkling of light, this sub-electromagnetic field, this manifestation of some kind of, which one would call a craft, manifesting with the bushes inside it. So it was all around. It was about 40 feet large and about maybe 40 feet away from us. And that was it. I saw that and managed to talk to a few people around me. We were watching in absolute amazement. Kim Carlsberg saw what we were doing. She came over and she could see the sparkling very, very clearly. At that point, I went to try and call Chuck Fay to come over from the other side of the field where we were. And in my absence from the scene, one of the guys, Andrew French, who's an English guy who lives in China, who came on the tour, he saw a being for 2 seconds appear and walk around this bush, and so did one of the girls. They saw this. We have their testimony on video. I didn't see it because I'd walked away. When I came back again, the whole show was over. So that was quite a profound experience, and all these experiences were shared amongst the group. And we were staying at the Enchantment Resort, which is allegedly connected to various members of the shadow government, with allegedly some kind of base underneath the resort. It's run almost with military precision. Everybody walks around with radios in their ears, and sort of young, strong men look like military people. It's quite an eerie thing to see, quite amazing, very efficient, certainly not a homely hotel. There was a great experience. Then from there we left and went back to, we went to meet Travis Walton, that's right. We went to meet Travis Walton. Rather a special trip because Travis was waiting for us at a hotel, and he gave an incredible presentation, which was translated. And he then took us to see the phone box where he was dropped off. When he came back, he took us into the forest, which was something, to find the exact place of the abduction. And he actually did, and it was really quite striking to see the pain and the emotion in Travis when he finally got to the place. where he was hit by this beam of light when the craft took off nearby. It's 30-something years later, and he was pointing to where the roads were, which were all grown over, where this was, where that was. And you could see that he was stressed out. He was revisiting exactly what happened almost at the same time. And the Chinese people later on came to me, and they had tears in their eyes. There were 3 of the girls, and they looked at me, and the tears were rolling down their eyes, and they said, "We feel this man's pain." She said, "You know, we didn't think this would be much coming to see Travis. Okay, it's a story, fire in the sky, but we stand next to this man, and the emotion pouring out of him, draining him, and he's giving that to us." And I think this really affected the group to an incredible extent that we're almost now considering bringing Travis Walton to Hong Kong to give a presentation. And from there, we left Travis, we went to Phoenix, where Dr. Lynn Ketai gave a presentation on the Phoenix lights. Now, at the same time, what I never told the tour, because we had 2 people on our tour, Stan Ho, who's got his Exopolitics Certificate from the Institute already, and Andrew French, who is still midway through his studies, and they're being taught by Paola Harris, one of the instructors, the world's top UFO researcher, photojournalist. I never told them that we'd brought Paola down from Colorado to Phoenix, and she was going to give them a lecture presentation on human-looking ETs. So, of course, when they all walked into the room, Paola was standing there. They freaked out, and we caught all the moments on film. So that was amazing. And after Dr. Keita gave her rendition on the Phoenix Lights, Paola stood up, talked about various cases and about the human-looking ETs and various cases she'd been involved with in Italy with such. Gave us some rather unique photos that are yet to be published. She's very, very interested in the Space Brothers, and she'll be researching that again and bringing some new information to light. And then that was basically it. The next day we flew back, and next weekend we have a reunion barbecue with everybody, and then we'll decide what we're going to do next after that. So it's pretty profound. It was exopolitical education. It wasn't just a pleasure trip. People came back enriched. Their worldviews had shifted. Their consciousness had absolutely shifted. And if you like, the machine gun fire of postings on Facebook has gone crazy. And I think the whole of Hong Kong have heard about this because we went onto one of their TV programs called the Big Boys Club, and we announced what we were going to do. And somebody said, well, Neil Gould said 110% will see ETs, ha, 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 ha. We'll see, UFOs, ha, 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 ha. Well, it's like 5,000% that they saw them, and it's on film. So I think it's going to really shake the city up as well when this program goes out.
That is fantastic. I just love hearing stories like this where people have such profound experiences, and when they take them back to home, they take these experiences home and start sharing them, the information just goes like wildfire through the areas.
Yes.
That's really exciting, Neil.
Yeah.
I mean, that's from what I understand, that's been, and you expressed that earlier, that it's been kind of one of the spots where the whole ET and the intelligent life outside of Earth has been pretty much just completely ignored.
Yes.
So yeah, that's some really exciting stuff.
Well, one other important project, and that I'm really embarking on. I mean, I've already, thrown a lot of money at it. Is a project which we call LearnAlt, LearnAlt. LearnAlt.com. This will be the website. Now, LearnAlt is being built. It's an extremely complex, interactive website, and it is all about alternative education. And why we are doing LearnAlt, my nephew and myself, is because there are so many researchers in the field of exopolitics, metaphysics, spirituality, alternative healing, alternative disciplines. These people really have given their life to to these disciplines and teaching and engaging them. Some of them are incredible spiritual artists, some of them are remote viewers, but they are all extremely, I say, poor in terms of struggling for a living, really, really struggling. But these people are holding an incredible amount of brain power and a credible amount of, which I call, access to the alternative world. So the whole point of LearnAlt is this education program. It's a platform where all educators can come onto this platform. They can make their own courses. They can upload their courses, some of them for free, which I think is good, because I think you have to have free courses to attract traffic to the site. And some of them would be paid courses. So in such a case, the educators would keep 80% of the money that people pay to do these courses. You're talking courses of $29, $30, $40 US, that's all. But this was the only brainchild I could come up with that would go some way to helping all our people in the fields to earn money, to be able to live, to be able to expand on what they're doing, and to invest in their disciplines, not let them die. You see, when money dries up, unfortunately, in this savage world, the field dries up. It's like ufology. You know, why is it sort of kept at this level? Because there's no money going into it.
Right.
The academic institutions take the money and they start doing stupid things like SETI. You know, pointless stuff, looking for ETs with radio. I mean, universities, professors, you know, with 10-year tetanus that sit on their asses, that proclaim that they know everything, and everything is inside the box, and they totally ignore the metaphysical world, or they totally ignore the real world, in actual fact. Some of them are scared out of their wits to open their mouths. You know, we're now starting to see these exoplanets turn up more and more and more, and you can sort of see these guys creeping back into the shade more and more and more, and thinking, well, how are they going to come out the shade? How are they going to justify it? So, in my view, if LearnAlt can get as many educators as possible, I mean, we are looking for educators, as many as possible to upload their courses, they will take charge of their own lives on this platform. We would have nothing to do with it. It will work by itself, and that's where the investment has gone in. That these people can handle the site, they can load their courses onto the site, they can teach online, they can promote their books online, they can promote their lectures, where they're going, what they're doing, and people can get to know them, give them a voice. So I think this is a great contribution to all the fields.
I agree.
It's all about education at the end of the day. And this is not a money-making thing, because you don't make money when you're giving the money to the educators. They make the money.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Definitely something that's really needed now. I mean, and you know, something that's been so, one thing that has brought my optimism to such a high level now about our future is the fact that so many of the researchers out there are now taking the whole consciousness element into account when they're doing their research. I mean, 20 years ago, the whole consciousness end of the ET communication was, you know, something that everybody, you know, turned their nose up at. You know, that's woo-woo stuff. You know, I want some nuts and bolts. You know, show me a craft, and that's where the whole ufology was all centered around the nuts and bolts. And now here in just in the last 10 years, it has absolutely exploded, the whole consciousness end of it, and we're getting so much more interaction through that than we ever got by just going out and looking for nuts and bolts.
Well, that's it, and that's what Dr. Rebecca Hardcastle does. You know, she's sort of coined the phrase exo-consciousness, and I find her such an important lady, because the cutting edge of our future, as you correctly say, is totally embedded in the understanding of consciousness. I mean, just look at Dr. Edgar Mitchell with his Institute on Noetic Sciences and Quantric. It's all about this Cartesian duality. It's all about consciousness. You know, these ETs, it was once said within the UFO lore, you know, if you want to understand ETs, you have to understand ESP. And that's absolutely right. And Dr. Hardcastle is an expert on exo-consciousness, and she's very, very kindly agreed to do a course for LearnAlt, free course, and people will be able to get a taste of what this consciousness thing is, because there's nowhere for them to go to learn. You can't go to university, you can't go to colleges. You have to have these alternative teachers, like the Exopolitics Institute Certification program. It's totally alternative. And many, many people, including myself, have gone through the program. I mean, Dr. Salla is a university professor. Paola Harris is a master's in education. You're dealing with people with extremely high mainstream qualifications, giving you non-mainstream education. And we need more and more and more people to go through the Exopolitics Institute certification program, to go through platforms like LearnAlt and any other metaphysical university that there is. I'm totally for it all. I'm not pushing anyone in particular. I'm pushing education. And the more people that go through it, it means the more people will understand about this important interface between our consciousness and the greater consciousness. So that we can gel in, tap in, and extract. And that's where we have to go as a species, because if we don't, I can tell you now that there are a lot of dead planets in the universe, and they're dead for one reason, that they followed the path that we're following.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So where, I found amazing. I think as a kid, I was thinking about the whole thing, the SETI program. And as a kid, I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense, because if anybody's traveling out there, they're not going to use radio, because it's going to be useless if anybody figured it out. So why are they even bothering? Yeah, it's like, even as a kid, I thought that was kind of stupid.
It's stupid. You see, it's two things. On the one hand, it's anthropocentrism, looking from the human's point of view that aliens will use radio. But on the other hand, it is a front. It is to distract people. You see,
right.
It's not for any other reason. I mean, you can put money into these telescopes, look to the stars, you're going to find nothing. Meantime, the action's happening in our own back garden.
Right, right.
It's right here.
There's definitely a lot of distraction games being played out there, and
totally. And that's why this education, I'm saying, is if you don't have platforms of education, the people are not going to be any wiser. They're going to become dumber, more dumbed down.
Right.
And we have to. We're actually duty bound, all of us, like your radio program. You see, you have these radio programs, and they're bringing all the researchers and all the people in the field to more and more other people. So if you have like 50,000 listeners, if it influences the lives of 5 people, those 5 people might affect another 5 people. So these radio programs are extremely important.
I definitely agree.
Anything that opens the door to these alternative fields. I do it all the time, and taking people to China. I mean, it's from China to the States. I'm doing lectures, I'm doing films, I'm doing many, many YouTube films, this LearnAlt platform. I've even got a business doing these hydrogen electrolyzers, running your car partly on water. So we've got that going, because people are brainwashed to think that all you need in this world is fossil fuels, petrol. That's how you move from one place to the other. The powers to be don't want you to know about UFOs because they don't stop at filling stations. So we have a stepping stone technology where we electrolyze water, we retrofit it into any car. I mean, you can see the film on this if you go to my other website, quantumhydrogen.com. Quantumhydrogen.com. You can see a video where we are talking to Jeff Peckman in the States, because Jeff will be handling the product in California, and you can see how the system works. Nobody told you that you could get water, split it, put the oxygen back into the atmosphere, and use the hydrogen to burn the unburnt fuel in your car and get rid of the emissions. I mean, this system reduces and eliminates emissions and saves you petrol.
Wow.
if I took it to an oil company, they'd probably buy it and shut it down.
Right, right.
And the problem is when you also introduce it, like in Hong Kong, I introduced it to the Hong Kong government. The Environmental Protection Department was so happy, they sent me to the Department of Transport, and the idiots in the Department of Transport said, we can't use this because we don't have permission from the manufacturers of the vehicles. I said, you idiot. I said, this whole place here is becoming polluted. You know, old people are suffering from lung problems. Kids are getting asthma. And you're worried about asking a manufacturer, you know, why they made such a crap engine in the first place. And, you want to put this, you asking permission to put this system into the bus. I said, you've got to take matters into your own hands. You've got to heal the place. But they don't get it, you know?
Right.
They first of all don't understand how water can burn. And never mind anything else. It's everything we are doing as activists, everything, even if we have the solutions, is an uphill battle. And the reason it's an uphill battle is because there's no education out there.
Right.
And my whole thing in life, and I'm absolutely convinced when we started the program explaining to you about my encounter with that being, it was a grey in robes, and it's the same grey that took my son with other greys. It was all about that program that was downloaded to let me understand the paths that I can go on, the creativity I can embark on, and the education that I could give in order to break this truth embargo that is an epidemic, it's a cancer, it runs through every strata of society, in every country, at every level, in every religion, in every political party, everywhere. And only the understanding of exo-consciousness and the alternative sciences, those are the only routes that we have, the only tools that we have to unhinge it and to free the people on this planet. Sorry I'm sounding so negative and so depressing, but it's a passion.
No, you don't sound negative.
Yeah, no.
It's far from that.
We're at the top of the hour here, so wow, this is some good stuff, Neil, and I'm sure our listeners are out there just eating this up and excited to definitely look into more of the things that you're doing there. So, what would be the best website for them to get a hold of you at?
I think my Exopolitics website is there, but I don't really post on it for the last 2 to 3 years because I've become very active on Facebook. But the best thing to do is to go to my Exopolitics website. You can see under contact me is my phone number and my email address, which is ngould@hkstar.com. I can be emailed. I can be messaged through Facebook. I can be contacted on the quantumhydrogen.com site.
Okay, so what's your Facebook?
Well, I've got various ones. I've got Exopolitics Hong Kong, which is a group. You can get me on that. You can get me just on Neil Gould on Facebook.
There we go.
Yeah, that's how I have you.
Cool.
There are various places I can be got at. So I'm there.
Yeah, those who are friends with me can also just go to my friends and then just put in his name.
Yeah, we really looking for educators. I mean, the key is educators. I really need hundreds of educators in these alternative fields. I want these people to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and teach. This is what I want.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, well, guys, we're going to take a short break here, and we'll come back in the members section. And if you are not a member yet, I urge you to join the 100th Monkey Radio and help support what Ramon and I have been doing here for, we're almost at our 3-year anniversary, aren't we, Ramon?
Almost.
Yeah.
I think it'll be 2 weeks away.
Yeah. Cool. I never...
Yeah. We need to buy some fireworks to...
Yeah, right. Okay, guys, well, we're going to have Inner Soul, It's the Right Time, take us out of this hour, and we love you guys, and we'll see you in the second segment. Condemnation.
Also, Tom, in the second hour, we want to talk more about the water splitters and stuff like that. So
absolutely.
Give everybody a little,
and we'll also want to dig into some of the UFO activity there in Southeast Asia too.
Yeah.
So, condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
And we'll see you guys after the break.
God, brothers, it's hard to stay straight until you're scared straight, and then you can't wait to get out. Then you shout, damn, I got freedom. Unless it's being taught, black man, I know you need one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you're then press the one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you're then press the one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you're then press the one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up. The plan that navigators shouldn't tell an artist not to be creative. You see the motive is to control more than business. Hitless enough that's in the soul, and I bring much more than your average MC. Please give me your break, man. Let me be me so I can be free to do as I please, see what I see who I be. And yo, act like me. I got the rhyme and my timing from the center. Lyrics from the brain even when I start to enter. The beats I'm bending, the vibes I'm sending, it's pleasure, never better. Even though shit is a mess, I never stress, in touch with insight, therefore I'm blessed with the armor. Tell your mama, but kill the drama. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you then press the one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you then press the one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you then press the one. It's the right time to make you free your mind. Wake up. The master rhymer indiscreet. I walk the streets with the knowledge, learning about things that you can't get in college, like science from the pavement, beats from the basement. My mouth full of lyrics and the label makes the placement. In my face went across the screen. The girl saw me getting raw to the beat with gasoline. My self-esteem went through the roof. Stepped into the club, yo, I got juice. Got juice on the inbox. Now she's in my face, dragging me all around the place. Damn, it's a disgrace that I can't enjoy my craft, spew my math, cause I'm too busy running away from this girl with the dumb blast. My path straight, so I lose the habit, and yo, I bounce like a rabbit. Yo, she's got the habit, cause she's chasing me. I'm out the door, kid, it's in the soul, and I'm free. The right time to make you free your mind. Wake up, if you're missing, press the